Ha! We are back, ladies and gentlemen.
All right.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Movie By Podcast. We are back for a special episode, but before we talk about the movie, we're going to be talking about the tagline for this movie goes like this: a new kind of enemy and a new kind of war. What do you guys think about that tagline for the movie that we're going to be talking about?
I think it should be, are we the bad guys?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, stay to your seats because Movie By Podcast starts now. All right. Everybody that's tuning in, I know it's been a while, but we are back for a special episode, and it's a funny way why we are back. It's been since November that we've recorded a Movie By Podcast episode, and it was to the point that we just said, like, hey, let's just take a break, and whenever we decide to come back, we'll come back. But the past 3 months, one of our videos in our YouTube channel, Speed, started gathering views, and I made a bet with my brother Russian over here. I thought, hey, if the video hits 10K views, let's come back for a special episode. And hey, here we are. I mean, 12,000 views later, here we are with a special guest, Alex, from our episode on aliens. It's nice to have you here with us tonight on this special episode. You guys picked a movie today. What movie we're going to be talking about?
I think this is a very good movie to talk about due to, what's happening in the world. And it's kind of the movie which went over everybody's heads in the beginning and it just started picking up traction in recent years. And now I say it's a cult classic. And the movie we'll be talking about, as you can see by the shirt that Alex is wearing, that's the Starship Troopers, ladies and gentlemen. That's the 1997 Paul Verhoeven.
Verhoeven? I hope we're not butchering his last name.
I butcher everybody's last name, so I hope everybody got used to that.
Starship Troopers, released in November 7th of 1997. A movie that opened with very bad reviews, low expectations, and over the years has gathered a cult classic title, and reviews have been restructured to more positive because of the content of this film. And I think it's, like you said, it's perfect that we're talking about this movie. I hope people out there start seeing it again, because it can relate a lot with a lot of the things that are happening currently in this world that obviously we'll go deeper into the show about it. Before we begin, obviously, a little bit of details around the movie. Based on a novel by Robert Heinlein that was released in the 1960s. And it was written by Edward Neumeier, who worked with Verhoeven with Total Recall and RoboCop. And obviously director Paul Verhoeven, who is known for his movies like Total Recall, RoboCop, Hollow Man, Starship Troopers.
Sir. Basic Instinct.
Showgirls.
I tried to skip that one.
You got to talk about Showgirls and his attempt of an NC-17 film.
Maybe in another 20 years, we'll go back and find the meaning in Showgirls. You'd never know. Maybe there's a hidden message in that movie. Maybe not. But
maybe not. This movie was made for $100 million. And we'll go into details later on, like where can you appreciate those $100 million as far as budget goes. But unfortunately, only grossed 121.2 worldwide in the box office, deeming it a box office bomb at the time that was released. Fun fact, this movie opened against films like Bean with Rowan Atkinson, for his famous character Mr. Bean. He opened and knocked down I Know What You Did last summer from the number one spot when it opened in November 7th. It also knocked down Devil's Advocate and Red Corner with Richard Gere. Those were the movies that Starship Trooper opened against, right at the weekend following Halloween. So it's kind of like a tough weekend for a movie of this type to open up after Halloween movies are dominating for a month, and then you throw a sci-fi flick about war against bugs, right? So you can see why it failed the box office. So what do you think what do you guys think about this movie? Like when it was released, you think it was like released ahead of its time, or it was just too much to handle over a weekend, or Verhoeven was just crazy to make a sci-fi flick around this?
I don't think he was crazy. This movie, when it came out, as far as in the opening weekend, it did phenomenally. And initially, people loved the movie. People came in and like, wow, like no one expected this movie. Came out of nowhere. We were blown away because the special effects, even to this day, are still really, really good. They aged really well. But the critic reviews absolutely destroyed it. And so after the opening weekend, the critic reviews were all like in the toilet. Everyone's like, don't see this movie. It's like fascist propaganda and autocratic society and everything. And it got review bombed in the toilet, and people are like, okay, I guess I won't see this movie. And so like after that first week, the viewership just dramatically dropped off, and that's why it became like a box office failure. So this is one of the times where like I kind of double down on the fact that I personally hate professional movie reviewers. Like I feel like those are not representative of like what people's opinions of our movies.
Are they even relevant nowadays? I don't think anybody like looks at critics or professional reviewers. I don't think anybody gives an F like about Oscars and like.
Don't say that to the people that saw Morbius.
Well, I mean, if the movie is trash, the movie's trash, and well, going back, Sony made that one too, and
they did,
and yeah. So sorry, I didn't mean to take the spotlight off you.
No, I mean that I mean like you're not wrong.
But at the time it came out, you're completely right. Like
everybody cared. Everyone's hanging on the words of like no, Siskel and Ebert. Like oh, what do they have to say about the movie before I go see it? I want to know, did it get 2 thumbs up? And if it didn't, you didn't see the movie. It was fairly important because it was hard to do independent research back then. There were no online forums to say, "Oh, how was this movie? What did you think of it?" and get like someone else's opinion unless they saw the movie physically. I remember when I was a kid, when the movie came out, it was all hearsay, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, have you seen this movie?" And I was like, "No." I was like 10 years old. I'm not allowed to go see Starship Troopers. But it was just became like infamous movie. I was like, "Man, there's a scene with a knife he throws at the guy's hand and everything." And like it was like there were so many scenes in that movie that were talked about by people who saw it.
I'm sure co-ed shower scene was also on your night as a 10-year-old.
I don't think I actually saw the movie until I was like a teenager. I was probably 14, 15 when I first saw the movie, but I'd heard about it since it came out because it made waves.
So, what was your first impression on a movie? Like when you first saw it?
When I first saw it, I completely glazed over the message, political message or anything. I saw it as a pure science fiction. We're the good guys. Let's kill those stupid, dirty bugs, and you feel good when you're shooting the bugs up into pieces. And, at the end, we're saying it's afraid and everything. Like yeah, we won. We're the good guys. And that's how I felt like the first few times I watched it because, when you don't have that much perspective on things, you're watching as a showcase. That's how the movie reads. But on repeat viewings, you're like, wait a second, this is something completely different going on in this movie.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like my first viewing, I had the same experience. Like I just felt like, hey, let's kill the bugs. Let's have some action, and let's go. Like I was all pumped out. It's the movie sold me the idea of going out there and liberating the planet.
I mean, my first impression of this movie, I didn't see this movie in theaters. I remember seeing the trailer of this movie in theaters. I think at some point, I watched whatever was on at that point, 1997. I do remember seeing the trailer, and I wasn't impressed. Yet again, I was 8, 9-year-old kid, right? I got to see this movie later on that I came across it on DVD. I'm like, let me check this movie out. And My first viewing was like, okay, this movie's pretty cool. I didn't get entirely everything that this movie was made for, like the purpose, like why Verhoeven made this movie, until again rewatching it later on as I grew older. I can now understand everything that this movie is about. Like to the satire, to like the political messages, the campaigning, and all this stuff, and now watching it like over the weekend, like it's a movie that has aged, like we said, like aged so well, because you can just relate to everything that you see to what we are currently living with, and it's amazing how this movie still flies under the radar of most people, because they don't really care. A title like Starship Trooper doesn't gonna really pique your interest unless somebody tells you, "Hey, watch this movie."
Better than the original title, which was like Bug Hunt at Outpost 9 or something like that. That's what they were going with when they were writing it.
I mean, what
Yeah,
would you
definitely.
title it? Like, there's no like a good title for this
The
movie.
title is perfect because the movie does exactly what it's supposed to. It subverts your expectations, kind of, where it's like, hey, look, it's a dumb movie about killing bugs. You know, you think of like Independence Day. There's no message in that movie, not really. It's just a fun movie.
So you're telling me that the events at Independence Day is not real?
I'm sorry to break it to you, Ruben.
All this time I thought Will Smith did save the planet Earth,
That's a documentary, sir.
like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
That
But
one
no,
too.
I think the title is perfect for it because the title is ridiculous. The movie comes off as ridiculous. And yeah, I think it flies on the radar because a lot of people on that on that first viewing, it really does seem like a pretty just like, oh, dumb sci-fi schlock movie that just has some action in it. I mean, I think that's pretty much everyone's impression. Like, uniformly, that like the movie is completely different when you rewatch it with a different perspective.
I think every time I watch it, it adds some kind of element. Like I look at the stuff that I completely missed in the first, second, or third going, and it just blows my mind how such a in your face, like 19 what was that the Melrose Place where half of the actors come from?
Beverly Hills
Beverly Hills.
90210.
Right, like it's kind of like that teenager drama, like love triangle
Yeah,
or square, whatever, like you can call it, because I mean it's like a bizarre scenario. And on top
Starship
of-
Trooper is a CW show nowadays.
bro, like you
It's
look
like
at
watching Riverdale in space.
It's a little bit more gore, though.
Yeah.
and then yeah, on top of that you have like them killing these bugs, these gross creatures that everybody's repulsed by. Like when you first see that freaking the brain bug, you're like, oh my god, get that thing away from me. Like you just want it to be hurt. Like it's perfection. Like they sell you this theory of like you as a viewer need to be on the same page as these Starship Troopers. So yeah.
A little fun fact is that we mentioned the CGI in this film. The movie was actually nominated for Best Visual Effects at the 70th Academy Awards. It was them between Lost World and Titanic, and they lost to Titanic in the Best Visual Effects category.
I mean,
That was the year that Titanic won 11
Everything.
Academy Awards. So nobody had. If you were nominated against the Titanic, you had no shot of winning. Period. But I mean, we mentioned the CGI in this film, and which still to this day, we all experience watching the 4K version, the ultra high definition version of this film. And normally, movies that are filmed and using film, and then they add CGI. Whenever they transfer into these high definition formats, they don't age properly. They don't look so well. Look, the biggest example, I'm a Star Wars fan, but if you look at the prequels in Star Wars, the 4K transfer, the CGI looks horrible, right? You can tell green screens are used in certain scenes, and it's horrible. But Starship Troopers, despite being a movie from 1997, the CGI looks very well done.
except
And-
for the space scenes, I think.
Yeah,
They
I'll
saved
give you that
a lot
one.
of
But
money on the space scenes.
I don't
But-
mind those. They use a lot of models for those.
yeah,
A lot of
but the
models.
bug scenes look good.
But I give you like I think they spent a lot of money on creating the bug, the coloring, because they feel very naturalistic and very like environmentally set, which is also additional props to cinematographers and the guys who created it, because like when you're on that planet, like it feels like bugs belong there. Like you are so as a human, you like I'm not supposed to be on this planet. This planet is not properly designed and created for the humans, and that's another thing. Like you just so many attention to detail or it was just a lucky thing. I don't know, but
No, I think you're right. It's definitely good, purposeful creature design. I mean, the bugs look like something you'd find under a rock in your backyard. You're like, oh, it's a bug. It's got some weird patterns on it. They move kind of weird, but they're not that alien. Like you can kind of believe that the thing exists somehow. No, they're a great design, and you're right. The planet. I mean, the planet. I mean, it's like Wyoming. I think they filmed it in. Like it's it
yeah,
looks
Wyoming
great.
is not designed for people.
No, I mean it definitely it works. And the thing that really shocks me is the movie doesn't cheat at all. I mean, a lot of those early CG movies, they would use like fog and smoke and nighttime and rain to say, oh, you can't look at the CG that close, and quick shots that you don't get a good look at it. And no, it's like here, it's like nope, broad daylight, extended shots only on CGI bugs, and they somehow look great. Like it's unbelievable to me that they did that in 1997.
That fire melting, yeah. Well, you just read my mind. That thing when it blew the two guys off the screen, it's like, thank you. Like I appreciate that.
I don't know how they did that. I don't know, to be honest with you.
I have no idea, but it at the end there's a little like that look of the Mars attacks, like the type of like the little eyeballs of the humans. I had that little vibe, but other than that, it's fantastic. Like all the like prosthetics. I don't know if they hired people without limbs or like.
I think they did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they did. I agree with Alex. And again, like Paul Verhoeven's known for having very detail when it comes to like makeups and stuff. And I mean, you like Total Recall and RoboCop are probably like the best examples of his films that where like the details to like the graphics of the makeup is like on point.
And I mean, rated R. Boy, oh boy, did they use that rating well. Like, you cannot name me another movie which is rated R, which is so, like... And, I mean, I'm talking about 1990s. Let's not go to, like, 300 and Deadpool. But, like in 1990s, like, I think this was one of the, like, the goriest, gruesomest movies I've seen.
I mean, to this date, it is, and I mean, I'll actually kind of like prod your point there a little bit about like stuff like Deadpool and those kind of movies that they are like comic book violence. They're not meant to be taken seriously. Whereas here, people are getting like violently shredded and screaming and grabbing their bloody stumps and crying horrible pain, and you're supposed to feel for them.
You think you're supposed to feel for them. So I have a point. I have a point to make here.
They're just kids, man. Like
wait. But as a viewer, you are in the first moment you're shown like the crazy violence, and you're like on a planet, and then they pull it back and they say 1 year earlier, and through kind of like showing like the medic scene, like you're trained to like expect violence. You are trained to see these. This is what's going to happen. You as a viewer trained to see it, and they as a like as a troopers, they are trained to like see that this is what's going to happen. Every older person in the movie who's like a veteran, they're either missing limbs or they like just like kind of not even there. So
everyone's mutilated. Yeah,
everyone is mutilated. All the when they show up, it's like the guy is even like, oh, welcome to the grinder, or like new meat, something like. He just makes a joke when they like in the recruitment office. So as a viewer, you are projected to not really see them as individuals. You more like see them as a machine which is supposed to like win this battle, and no matter what consequences, like because they show like 100,000 dead or 12 million dead when the attack happens, and you're like, just the numbers, and when you get attached to certain individuals and then they die, what I love the most is when the lieutenant gets killed. Okay, And spoilers, I guess, if you guys have not seen the movie, which is 25 years old, we're gonna spoil some things here. When Lieutenant gets killed, and it's such a like this very patriotic way, and it's so sad, and it's so satisfying for him to like fulfill his arc. 20 seconds later, you have a main. I'm gonna call her. She's a main protagonist, the female character. Like, I mean, I know
Dizzy.
Dizzy. Like Denise Richards. Yeah, her character, Carmen. She is supposed to be the one we kind of like, fell in love or following, whatever. But Dizzy is the true soul. Like, she joins the army to be with the guy. She's with a guy, and the next fucking morning she gets executed. And it's like. It's so beautiful. It's so poetic. It's you do not expect that from a movie, and it's kind of like, I mean, I just loved it. Like,
so now that we're bringing up actors and everything, so let's talk about the acting. Let's talk about how this is a $100 million budget movie, and the majority of the cast is a slash of B-list / C-list actors. And everything else in the movie goes into the production, CGI, as we discussed. So let's talk about the cast. Let's start with Johnny Rico, the main protagonist of this film, portrayed by Mr. Casper Van Dien.
I mean, let's talk about like the casting and what you needed for this movie. So for this
that
movie,
picture sums it up perfectly right there.
Yeah. So for this movie, you needed to promote, the beautiful, not so bright, but very loyal to the cause individuals, and like the B movie celebrities are the fucking perfection of that statement. Like, I think the casting in this movie is just bizarrely accurate of what it needed to accomplish. Like, you did not need an A-lister who would pull their weight and make this into something it's not. Like, this movie was not supposed to be serious. Yet it had like some serious moments in it, sort of, kind of. But
to be fair, Casper Van Dien never did anything relevant after Starship Troopers.
He did Hollow Man.
He wasn't in Hollow Man.
Oh wait! Oh, sorry. I'm talking about the director. My bad.
Casper Van Dien had supporting roles after Starship Trooper in Sleepy Hollow, where he gets his head cut off by the Headless Horseman. They attempted, and I showed this to Alex the other day when we were at work. At some point, Warner Brothers wanted to revamp and reboot the Tarzan franchise. And Casper Van Dien was cast as Tarzan. And it was this big movie, like they spent millions of dollars in it. It's called Tarzan and the Lost City. And you see the trailer, and it's very cringy. And the movie got released a year after Starship Troopers. And it bombed, like, to the point that whatever hopes they had for sequels, like, they cancel it right after opening weekend. And Casper Van Dien's name just went into, like, the actors that you just get for fill out the roles, like, fill in the blanks, all right? Like, to the point that Starship Trooper had 2 direct-to-DVD sequels where he returned in the third one, I believe, in Marauder. And then they had 2 animated films where he voiced the character of Johnny Rico in them. That's the only relevancy that Casper Van Dien has to his entire franchise.
Well, I mean, he like that movie. He is the star of that movie. He's perfect. He's a perfection of how the character who, like, in the beginning of the movie, when it's tested with the ideologies, like, should we just use the brute force to solve problems? And he's like, I don't know, maybe not, I don't know. And at the end of the movie, he's like, let's kill them all. And you're like, oh boy, they broke you.
And in a matter of 2 weeks, he climbs the ranks like this, super quick.
In this movie, I don't think there's like, you get promoted by your own peers. Like, there's no structure. Like, it's like, hey, you're a fucking lieutenant now. Hoorah! Let me pick my sergeant.
Oh yeah, my lieutenant just died. Forget whoever's next in line. It's like, no, hey, do you want the job? Yes, sir. Until you find somebody else.
I think that, like, I was thinking about that too. How ridiculous it seems that he goes from private to corporal to sergeant to lieutenant,
and then to lieutenant.
In a matter of, like, about a week or so. And the fact that he kept that rank, typically when you get like a battlefield promotion, that's like temporary, and then you go back to the fleet and things go back to normal. But my guess is that this has been such a grinder for the troop that there is no one. Like, you are now the most experienced troop that we have. You're in charge. You've been there for 2 weeks, so you're the veteran soldier. Like, there was no one else.
Yeah, I don't want to bring the reality of the things happening around the world, but I think something similar happening like in some of the armies around the world right now, where a lot of generals are being eliminated and
Promoting the next guy, like,
Yeah,
hey,
the
you
next
you
guy.
want to be general?
no, like yeah, like this movie does resemble real life sometimes.
Hey, you over there. Do you have a heartbeat? Cool. Here, you're general.
You're the general.
So, main stars in this film. Obviously, we were talking about Denise Richards, who, I mean,
Doesn't she smile too much? Like, you pulled up the only picture where she doesn't smile. Like
she does. I mean, I got that one.
And how she gets up from there and holds the
She's
rifle.
fine afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah, she's.
I mean, we're talking about model turn soap opera, a soap star turned actress, Denise Richards, who, after this film, I think she probably had the only.
No. Like, look at her IMDb. She's been in ton of stuff.
I know, yeah. Like, after
I
Starship
never-
Troopers, she went to do Wild Things in 1999 with Nev Campbell and Matt Dillon and Kevin
I'm still
Bacon.
trying to get you to buy with me, but you.
I don't like Wild Things. No. And then she was a Bond girl. She managed to become a Bond girl with Pierce Brosnan's for The World Is Not Enough, right?
And with the amount of talent she has, she stretched it out like, I think, incredibly well.
You know where she's at? You remember I was texting you about the show Blue Mountain State? She's in that show.
Bro,
That's where her career ended.
I have no idea how they keep casting her. Like, for what? I mean, it's incredible.
I'll
She's
tell
not
you
a
why.
great actress.
It's because of people our age. We're like, hey, I remember these Richards.
But she like you said, like exactly, like in 1997, she was like the it girl. She was like on the cover of every teen magazine.
It was the Hewlett girl. The one movie you just said. Yeah, I remember which I did last summer. Wasn't
Jennifer
her?
Love Hewitt. But yeah, it was.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Yeah.
It was her.
Yeah.
It was the other blonde from that movie. What's
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Gellar.
Yeah.
Those were the hot
Yeah.
teens and hot girls which we all wanted to see. And then another chick from the Starship Troopers, the one who plays the in a Butterfly Effect.
Amy Smart. She has like a very small role in this movie. Yeah.
Right. She's in it. So
Yeah.
she actually has probably the biggest career of them all afterwards.
Yeah.
Well, no. The guy who plays Hank in Breaking Bad, he's in it.
Yeah, but let's be fair. Nobody remembered Dean Norris until they see Breaking Bad. They're like, oh, that's the guy from Breaking Bad.
He was in a
The Lawnmower Man,
Lawnmower
which you saw the
Man.
other day.
I saw it the other day. Another fantastic movie.
One of my favorite background guys, Clancy Brown, who's the jewel
Yeah.
actor. He shows up in just random movies. I'm like, hey, and he's fantastic in everything he's in.
He is. I mean, Shawshank Redemption, Highlander.
The last thing I saw him, it was the what was the movie called? The that kind of ridiculous Western movie, The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. That's it.
The one on Netflix.
Yes, he shows up in there randomly as just like a bandit, and I was like, Clancy Brown, what are you doing in this movie?
Hey,
And,
by the way, fun fact: Clancy Brown is the voice of Mr. Krabs in SpongeBob SquarePants.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know what SpongeBob is. What? But anyway,
You come on. You
I've
know who
seen
SpongeBob
memes.
SquarePants
I've
is.
seen memes. I never seen like the actual cartoon. Remember, back home we don't have Cartoon Network.
No, it's Vladimir Putin cartoon version telling you something.
At this point, I don't think we have anything anymore. Like, fucking everything is taken away. So, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, you like Clancy Brown. We also have Jake Busey. All right,
Bro,
who is Gary Busey's son? You can tell by the resemblance.
What?
Really?
No.
What?
No way.
What?
Bro, he's
And then
taking like third of the screen.
obviously you have again Neil Patrick Harris,
Barney.
and then you have Michael Ironside.
Wasn't he in RoboCop?
He was in Total Recall.
Oh, who plays
I'll-
the bad guy? I remember. That. The guy
Kurtwood
from
Smith plays the bad guy in
the
RoboCop.
guy from that '70s show.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, both guys look the same.
But that's the cast of this film. Obviously, forgot. I have a photo of Dina Meyer, but Dina Meyer has been in every B movie that exists. She was in the Saw franchise until the third one, where she gets killed off. But that's the movie right there. That's your cast right there. And then you have secondary like actors who have starred in TV shows. You can pinpoint if you've seen them. But he made it work. You know, he cast young
Perfection.
B-list actors who were desperate for a role, and he
I
made it work.
I don't think they knew what they're filming. I don't think they understood the.
They
guy.
probably all thought it was a war movie, like a World War
And
II movie
and
or
put
something.
the effort in it. Like you can
Yeah.
see them like
Oh,
trying.
they're
hard.
trying. They're trying
Oh.
real hard. And you know what? It makes it all the more beautiful because you have Casper Van Dien trying really hard, and he's not a great
He
actor.
does.
But then you have right next to him, you have Michael Ironside, who is, I think, a phenomenal actor.
He
delivering
is
these
a veteran
ridiculous
actor, yeah.
lines with dead sincerity and perfect like intonation. You know, they suck his brains out. And he's completely serious. You know, like the eyes don't waver or anything, and it's just ridiculous. And it works for the movie. Like it just, this movie has so much character. It's like oozing from the cracks. Like it's unbelievable.
I mean, it's 2 hours and 9 minutes of pure entertainment. Like it, even till this day. Like if anybody asks me like a good fun movie to watch, I'm like Starship Troopers. But you're gonna have to rewatch it again because I don't think you get the message on the first go.
Yeah.
I don't think you get like I feel like all of us still have our own different like idea what the movie is trying to say or trying to do.
Yeah. I could
So-
agree to that.
So let's start with you, Ruben. What is your take on a movie? Do we even have to go into the plot and explain what's happening, or do
I mean, the plot is simple. Like at this point, like it's about in a futuristic world. You know, you have an army, you have the Fleet Academy, you have the mobile infantry who are invading planets to defeat a common enemy known as the Bugs,
what have bugs done to us?
and we never find out.
They existed, goddammit.
Just the
Didn't they
fact
throw
they're
the-
bugs.
Didn't they throw the asteroid at us somehow?
They
from, like,
say they did. They never show proof they did.
10
Allegedly.
allegedly 10 million
Allegedly.
miles. It's so propaganda. They did it themselves.
It's weapons of mass destructions.
So they threw the rock at us. It landed in Buenos Aires for some reason, and for some reason we all care about that city in 21st century.
In Argentina, everybody speaks English,
And you go, and everybody goes to Harvard nowadays. Like remember, that
just like that.
there's a Johnny Rico was supposed to go to Harvard with a 35% math score. I don't know.
You know, I want to touch on that real quick. There's something I was kind of wondering about because I also just rewatched the movie a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And Rico is shown a semblance of being very dumb and very smart. It's a little strange. Because you remember at the beginning of the movie when he's in the classroom and he gets asked a question by Michael Ironside,
Yeah.
he responds with like
He
the
just-
exact correct answer, and Michael Ironside says exact words from the text. Like he is exactly right. He
So
excelled
he remembered
in
it.
infantry. But I mean, the fact that he was able to do pretty much everything he set his mind to extraordinarily well. I mean, he survives, he kills lots of bugs, he saves everyone he
Well,
can.
because he
But
was
he
the
had a low
captain
math
of the
score.
team. Remember? He was the
But-
fucking captain
I
of the
think-
team.
I think Johnny Rico was street smart, not book smart. So he was dumb as rocks for math. That's why he couldn't make it to the Fleet Academy. But he was smart enough to make it to the mobile infantry.
He was
guess.
smart enough to kill bugs.
Yeah, because he couldn't be a psychic either, because he failed every test as a psychic. With Neil Patrick Harris.
That test was weird. Like you can fucking see the card. Like
Well, he has the screen in the back.
you know what? I also felt like the Neil Patrick is gonna do something with his skills when he like can tell the ferret to go and bite his mom's leg. I felt like that's gonna come in handy in some way or another.
No.
And all
It
he
doesn't.
does, he goes to the fucking brain and touches it for like 3 seconds
No,
and goes,
you're missing a
It's-
part.
"It's afraid." Wait, what part?
So, if you remember,
Well, he sent
Uh,
Johnny to find.
right, and that kind of closes the arc of when Rico says, "I hope you never do anything like that to me," when he sends the ferret after his mom.
Yeah.
And then later in the movie, he gets the idea in his head that Carmen's alive, have to go save her.
Oh, okay. I guess yes. All right.
Oh yeah, and he brings that up at the end. It's like, you the one, you planted that in my head, and he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And he walks away. Yeah, I do recall that. I do.
Yeah, like it's another strange thing in this movie. It's like some plot holes like exist and nobody gives a fuck about them, and then some loops they tie it very well. It's just it's so bizarre. Like,
so this movie, it's so filled with plot holes that it's pretty much like
Swiss cheese.
filled up. You know, like it makes sense again. It comes around so far. Because there are some movies, if there's like one major plot hole, you'd be like, wait, what about that one scene? That doesn't make any sense. And, you know, you start to unpack it.
Stop trying to make sense.
This is a sweater with one strand undone, and if you kept pulling it, the entire thing comes apart. But it's okay. Now you have one long piece of string, and you're fine with it for some reason. Like, nothing in this movie makes any sense. I mean, let's start with when they go to boot camp. They learn to fight other people. I'm like, you're fighting bugs. Why are they fighting like mannequins of people and doing like squad tactics of like taking hold like a fort? Like, you should be learning to shoot bugs because that's all you do. And there's no bugs or mention of bugs at all in their boot camp whatsoever.
Well, doesn't Neil Patrick shows them like how to kill the bugs properly?
That's on a random TV show that the viewer is watching.
But then watch this.
Official
listen. So up until like the last section when they save Carmen, right? Nobody can shoot the bugs efficiently because they spend like millions of bullets and never hit them. But then when Neil Patrick talks to him via like mind control, right? They kill all the bugs in like seconds. Like you just have a huge pile of bugs.
So I have no excuse for Xander and Carmen, but I will say I will kind of give a pass to that on everyone else because they kept surviving, and I think the more fights you go into, you learn how to kill them, otherwise you'll die. Like when Rico joins the Roughnecks, you see that they are cleaning up bugs extremely efficiently. They literally corral them into a pile and kill them. They're very good at it. They've probably been doing that for a while. And so Rico, I think, learns from that. So I'll kind of give the excuse of, okay, he got better at his job, and he was with Jake Busey, who has also survived that long, and the other guy, Sugar Watkins, who was also like a special forces guy with the Roughnecks. So like, I'll give a pass to them. Like they got to that point, they probably learned to kill them effectively. But Carmen, who had never shot a bug in her life, picks up a gun and she's like mowing them down like crazy. It's like, okay. Well, I mean, it's just kind of bullshit.
Then she got stabbed in the back. Like
she's fine. It was only like a 4-foot claw that went through her entire shoulder and clavicle.
She survived.
Wouldn't she like bleed to death in like minutes?
It's self-sealed. It's okay.
Yeah, and what about this technology when they used like when he gets stabbed in the leg, they heal him like in 3 days, but then you see all these amputees and like none of them gets any fucking help, and their prosthetics look like from like 17th century.
If you lose your limb, you're done.
But
you can't save the limb. He got stabbed. He got cut, so they can save that.
It's just weird, like how they just cherry pick with it.
So I thought the same thing, and the only thing I can think of to maybe explain that is that since it was his former teacher Raschek who saved him, and he's a lieutenant, maybe he kind of pulled some strings to make sure that happened. Because he transferred him to his unit too.
I mean, if we start making excuses for this movie, we can just create our
own
propaganda.
I'm positing why that could have possibly happened. I'm not saying that's what did happen.
It's possible that the bugs are bad and they're gonna attack the Earth, so we had to attack them first. And I have a map right here which is gonna show the way they would have attacked us.
The only good bug is the dead bug.
Right. So
my thoughts about this movie, like watching it and watching it multiple times. I mean, for me, I can see like just the opening of this movie. You know, it opens up with these like commercials about war, and all of a sudden, then you have 1 year earlier, and the movie starts, right? But it's just like the propaganda, the war propaganda, the brainwashing of, you know, oh, the bugs are bad. You need to support your men or fight any way you can, right? Or join the mobile infantry and let's kill some bugs, right? It's like this is what was playing. This is like watching a reel from World War II. Whenever, like in the past, people will go to movie theaters, they will play these type of propaganda commercials before any movie, because they wanted, everything was one sided. What, like if you were like USA was just showing you like USA needs to fight, like this is what we're doing, you need to do your part, blah blah. And this is what this movie's portraying, right? And I think Verhoeven does a really good job of making a satire out of this, but presenting like this is what we lived in the 1940s during World War II, of brainwashing civilians into joining the war at no matter the cost, right? And I can see the similarities. We have the mobile infantry, which is kind of like the army, where you give your life, you give everything to defend your country, but then once you're like discharged or you're a veteran, like they don't care about you. Like we see that from the point in the scene where Rico is enlisting and he goes to the recruiting office, and then you see the guy has a prosthetic, and then he goes, "Oh yeah, mobile infantry made me the man I am today." And the next thing you know, he's wheeling off, and he's a double amputee, right? And then you have the Fleet Academy, which is kind of like the Air Force, because like, oh, you're in the Fleet Academy because you're like the smartest people out there, and like you think you're top shit, and like the fleet flies and the mobile infantry dies. Because, I mean, and that's the reality of these not upper, but like the Air Force. Like that's what people think about the Army and the Air Force. Like, oh, you're in the Air Force, you must be really smart because you're in the Air Force. Like the Army, you can be 18 and we'll give you a gun and you can go shoot, right? And I see that in this movie. That's my perception of this movie, and they tell this in a very fun but scary way. That's what I see.
They take that propaganda, like there's very specific verbiage to say join the mobile infantry and save the world. They don't say fight bugs; it's save the world. Like,
yep.
That sounds important. I better go do that. Saving the world, like it's a big responsibility. That's similar to you're right to what you're saying in World War II. They're saying something similar. Yeah, you got to save the world from the clutches of the Nazi regime. So you got to go join the army. And here it is. At join infantry, save the world from these bugs that are sending asteroids allegedly 10 million miles.
Go invade their planet and destroy them. With no cost.
To me, the more I watch this movie, the more magical it becomes. Where it gives you the view, like it asks you a question: what would you do? Like if you're in that position, would you join or would you stay on a like? It sells you the idea that it's good to be there, as you guys mentioned. Like the propaganda is strong in the movie itself. But as a viewer, you also like you want these bugs to die. Like I don't think anybody watches this movie on the first go, or maybe on the second, or even now. Like I'm still kind of like fuck the bugs. Like I know they haven't done anything wrong. I know that that they are not really a bad guys, technically speaking. But like I want this hot stud to make love to this woman, and I want them to keep doing it, not just once, maybe multiple times. Like the idea of the like human. I don't want to say superior, but I want to say like we want to preserve our own, and we kind of like if it needs to be done, it needs to be done, and this movie sells you that idea. And even when you point it out to be like, hey, but what we're doing, it's not right, but you like, well, is it though? Like they do kind of fight back. Like, so if they fight back, they also in the wrong, so let's fucking kill them.
I mean, they really make sure that the people that get killed in that first attack are not faceless. They introduce this people to you. It tells you in a very quick scene, said, oh, this guy got into Harvard, but he can't afford it, and he needs to go in infantry to get the money. And this person, she wants to go into politics, she should be a citizen. And this person, she wants to have kids, so she has to be a citizen to get the paperwork to have kids, which is a whole another conversation of like need paperwork to have children in this dystopian future.
And they just completely dismiss it.
Yeah, and
like,
so they meet all these people, and they're like, oh man, everyone's like a human, everyone's got like a life that they're going to look forward to and everything. and they all get horribly butchered in 45 seconds. So you're like, oh, the bugs are the bad guys. Like, you don't even think about it because these people you just met, who all seem like nice young people, are all horribly, horribly mutilated in front of you in a few seconds. So you're like, the bugs are the bad guys. You just don't, you think about it like unequivocally. Just because the bugs don't have faces or emotions or can speak, they are now just absolute bad guys.
But they do bring like the emotions, and at the end when they introduce the brain bug, it has this. It's weirdly like how ugly it is, but yet how like you still relate. You see his eyes, and you can see like him being sad and being afraid and being like you finally see like this bug as a I don't know. It's like it's the brain. It creates some kind of sympathy, but at that point it's too fucking late. Let's just shove some fucking whatever the thing that they shove up his mouth, which we're not gonna say what it looked like, but okay. I still did not understand why it needed to eat brains. Like it would learn from it. How would that? Yeah, like look at it. Look at the poor thing.
Yeah, you drink the brain and you learn from it.
Yes. And how did they got the perfect netting? And also, how did this bug got on that like small tiny thing to kill the first dude? I don't know. Some of the shit just does not.
You can't think about it too much. We're talking about a movie that like their job as soldiers is to kill these huge bugs that are like 20 feet tall, and rather than giving them like helicopters or tanks or bombs, they're like,
Did
here's
they
just a
had
regular
some?
gun.
But they had some like the flying things when they
use them once and
they
never
used them
again.
once. I guess they ran out of napalm or whatever the fuck they were bombing with.
I don't know.
Maybe all the tanks that they brought to the army to the war got bombed in explosions like that. All the people survived, but all the tech got destroyed. So now they just have to.
Not a single tank APC helicopter.
And now,
made it,
like
just
another thing, like all of these guys have like a helmets, and they have like all the gear to prevent them from being stabbed, I guess. But then they get stabbed anyway. Like, what's the point of all that like extra weight in the desert? What they
Not
carry?
only that, and I'm glad you brought that up because it's something I think about every time. So you're right. They're wearing body armor and helmets, which apparently do nothing if the bugs go right through them like tissue paper.
Because they have like exposed necks, and then like how many?
Wait, let me.
Better because you might think, okay, well it's military gear, it's like bulletproof
What
vest,
the fuck?
but they're not bulletproof because remember he shoots Michael Ironside right through the chest with one bullet. And kills him instantly.
True. Yeah,
It's not even bulletproof. Like it doesn't do anything.
but it looks expensive.
It does. It looks
I
cool.
guess somebody in the military had to like make these things. Maybe
It looks
relative-
like the foam that you remember bike helmets, and they have like an underprotective foam underneath the plastic casing. It looks like they removed the plastic casing and put the foam, and that's the helmet for the movie.
I just had to have a uniform. That's it. Like
Hey,
what?
the uniform looks good. It's uniform. Like I know like in terms of
It reminds you of some specific uniform, but not as much as
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know. Up until like when Barney shows up in the fucking the Morpheus coat, like
SS Himmler.
I know it's like you're like, oh, he went too far with that one. Like he wanted to make sure what you're watching is for the critics to call this movie, the fascist and promotion of fascists. Like how the
Speaking of, there's a fun quote here. Let me see if I can find it. Now that we're talking about like fascists and everything, let me see if I can find it. I had it highlighted.
I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna say that Bugs had some fascist fucking battalion, which was hidden in the hills, so they needed to be destroyed. So we had to go there and get them. That's right. That was the fucking mission.
No, that's not what it is. Just keep going. I'm gonna see if I can find it.
Just keep on going.
Just keep on going.
So, yeah.
No, the message of the movie. To me, there's so many ways to take it, and you can mold it to pretty much any viewpoint.
Right.
Because
it doesn't answer. It does not answer anything.
Right. Not only that, but like they don't ever like point out this in the movie itself. There was no bad consequences directly, anyway, for the society being this autocratic dictatorship.
But
it is a functioning society.
but they don't show it. Like there's no one
What are you talking
body.
about? The world's perfect. Like everyone's beautiful. Like perfect weather.
But who is in
everyone's
charge?
rich.
Like they never show like because to me when you're talking about totalitarianism and authoritarian regimes, like I need to see a body. I want to see one man who I can point the finger to and say, "He's the bad guy. Because of him, we are this way." Right?
It's not important.
And it's
So-
not there.
So I found the quote. So in 2014 interview on the Adam Carolla show, actor Michael Ironside, who read the novel as a youth, said that he asked Verhoeven, who grew up in the German-occupied Netherlands, "Why are you doing a right-wing fascist movie?" Verhoeven replied, "If I tell the world that a right-wing fascist way of doing things doesn't work, no one will listen to me. So I'm going to make a perfect fascist world. Everyone is beautiful, everything is shiny, everything has big guns and fancy ships, but it's only good for killing fucking bugs." I found that hilarious.
I mean, bro, like that's why this movie is so relevant. That's why this movie is so fucking damn clever. And like I cannot give enough compliments to the way it was created. I think it deserves every praise that it gets. I think it deserves like a rewatch on not on daily occasion, but like on the yearly occasion. This movie does not lose its appeal. Like no matter how many times you watch it, it's like watching a beautiful car pass by, or it's like watching a beautiful God's creation walk by you. Like I don't want to say girl, but you know. And then
I
you have
agree.
a fucking co-ed showers. Like, I mean, 20, what is it? 21st century. Somehow they had to
Coexist?
all be equal, right?
Yeah.
So fucking co-ed.
That's
Like,
the thing.
it's just-
Everyone in this movie is perfectly equal. In this fascist society, like people
Yeah.
are just.
Well,
just
except if you're in the fleet, then you're better than if you're in the infantry.
true.
And yet they still after that fight they make a fucking tattoos which say something death from above.
Death from
Uh-huh.
above, yeah.
Which ironic, you're fucking infantry. Death from above, it means like you supporting the Air Force. like that's the little fucking details of this movie are just bizarrely delicious. It's just every little thing about this movie. You can swing it any way you want, and you can make any argument, and it's gonna be either good or bad, but it's gonna be undeniable. Like, I mean, I cannot praise this movie enough. So,
What are your favorite moments in this film? In this movie?
I mean, there's, bro, like I mentioned, co-ed showers. Fucking,
That's it. Like never, like let's cut the podcast. We're done. That's
I mean, show me another movie with a co-ed showers. Like, name one.
I can't think of one. But what
No.
other moment in the
Fucking
movie?
Unique. Like, it's a unique moment, which just
And in Alex and the Russian's perfect
And-
world,
and-
co-ed
and-
showers is the key.
and not only that, nobody's aroused. Like, even the viewer, you watch it and you like, okay, cool. Like it's fucking perfect scene. But besides that, like, I mean, we already talked about it. The bug implementation, the bug structure, how they bring like these running motherfuckers first, and then they add it to like the I think the second one you see is the big fucker.
Yeah.
And then you see the flying guys, and then you see like these peasants who like just accommodate the brain. And I'm sure like that's not it. Like I mean I haven't seen the rest of the trilogy, and I never will. But
Me
I'm sure
neither.
that, I think they bring other bugs which are on the planet, so it's diverse. It has its purpose. It has its infrastructure. It has its meaning. And we want to kill it, and we have to kill it.
What's your favorite moment in the movie, Alex?
I mean, it's gonna sound pretty cliche, but honestly, like the
The
defense
co-ed
of
shower.
the defense of that whiskey outpost, the fort, it's just. I mean,
Is
that's
that-
really.
But is that the same outpost where they kill Mormons, or is that the different one?
No, I think they use the same props to build
But-
the fort,
but I like
it's
how
a
they
different
f-
location.
Like it's this little small thing, but they throw Mormons under the gun, and they just
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
like for no reason whatsoever.
Radical
like,
Mormons, no less, is what they say.
radical Mormons, and just got annihilated on the outpost by these bugs. And We have to revenge them. Like,
But yeah, that fort scene is so beautifully done. A mix of practical and CG. I mean, the fact that they have like bugs falling over and pulling like barrels over with like wire to make it look like they're hitting the barrels and stuff like that's
Oh,
why you don't
yes.
think about it. It's just like no, it just looks like it's happening in front of me. You don't really think like, oh, these are fake CG bugs. Like no, the wire work and the implementation of CG behind them is so like flawless and so believable. Like you feel for everyone there, even though once again the situation makes no sense. I was thinking about it earlier today too. That whole thing is they go to that base because of the distress beacon.
which obviously was used by bugs for some reason.
Sure.
and-
Oh, okay. You know what? Sure. Let's say that. Yeah, because that's what they say in the movie. But
Which they
why?
never use again.
Why would the bugs want a group of random grunts, like 50 guys, to lure them into a trap? There's no one important in that group. The
They
ranking
needed
officer, the
to. So
lieutenant.
listen, I got you. Since we're talking about everything can be explained, so the brain guy tasted the human brain. Okay, now he's like, oh my god, yummy, yummy, need more fucking brain. So the first thing they do, they send for some more meat, some more brains. Boom, explained.
Okay. And now, second point is if you're going to lay
Listen.
a trap, why would you lay the trap in a place where the humans can heavily fortify themselves in a fort? You can send whatever message you want. Why not just be like, meet me in this desert cave? Don't worry about it. Wink, wink. There's no bugs there.
They had some expendable troops to who were needed to be gone from the military. They needed the write-offs, okay? Because they are maybe malfunctioning, okay? Maybe because they got killed like very easily by a very small amount.
Operation Human Shield.
I mean, they needed to be right off because the brain was coming to inspect everything. Remember that, right? So the generals in the army were like, "Fuck, man! If he comes out here and starts looking at my, supplies of troops, some of them are defective, and we are supposed to have very advanced military. So we need to write shit off."
You know what? Okay. Question answered. I'm satisfied.
See, this is why we do this shit.
This is
But
this
yeah,
is why
no,
we
that-
fucking
that-
have the show.
That's the best part of the movie to me. Everything else leads up to that point. That's like the linchpin of like that action set piece. Just like is like the railroad spike that keeps the entire movie just going and like because the movie spaces out its action, decently, but there's definitely large periods of there's no shooting or action that's kind of talking and introducing characters, and then you get that scene and you're like, holy shit! It's just like 40 minutes of shooting, like thousands and thousands of rounds of automatic fire with all your favorite characters are all lined up there and everyone dying. Like that scene, I think, is why that movie works as an action movie. If that scene wasn't executed the way it was, I think this movie would probably go under the radar.
Yeah. Cool.
But like that, it needed to be sold as an action movie. Like,
Yeah.
the first thing you watch any trailer, you watch anything, you're gonna feel like you're going to see the action movie,
Sci-fi action. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like you wanted to see bugs being killed, and you get that in that scene. Like, and I mean, I cannot disagree with you. Like that scene made fucking perfection. And as I like, that's probably one of my favorite is when Lieutenant gets killed or gets executed by his own men. Well, he asked for it, obviously, and then Dizzy dies 20 seconds later. It's
poetic.
like, it's fucking poetic. It's beautiful. You're like, but what about Lieutenant? Fuck Lieutenant. Dizzy, your turn to die.
He was gunning for his job. He's like, oh fuck, this is my opportunity. Let me kill him.
Bro.
I'll be lieutenant tomorrow.
And then out of all the soldiers, okay, the only one who gets a send off was Dizzy. Like she gets
Yeah.
the coffin, and then she gets the speech, and she gets to be shot out of into the space.
Well, it's the
And-
only
and the rest
full
of them
body they
fucking-
could recover.
Oh yeah, sure. Okay, we're gonna go with that one.
That's probably the only body they brought
I mean,
back.
why would they give proper send off to the Expendables? You just said it yourself. Like they're write-offs.
It's just right. Okay, let's go.
She was a squad leader.
Exactly, that's
And
true.
probably
She was squad
promoted
leader.
to like lieutenant by the time she died. Well, just-
Honorary lieutenant, commander for a day.
yeah. You get to be a general.
All right. Final thoughts before we wrap up.
What about
Final
you?
thoughts.
Did you say your favorite scene?
I have to agree with like Alex's favorite moment. That scene. I agree that that's like the pinnacle of the movie, and it's just like you said, like it just shows what this movie is all about, and the fact it's CGI, but it's in broad daylight, and it's just perfect. Like you've been watching this movie for an hour and a half already, and this is like the third culmination act of the movie, and it's just perfect. It just ties in everything together and just defines what each of these characters are supposed to be doing in this film.
I wanted to add an addendum that I have a second favorite scene in the movie that I
Yeah.
wish they had hung a little bit differently, and I know they were going to, is when Rico dies, supposedly.
Mm.
And, and then you have Carmen checking the monitor and says Rico KIA and everything. Apparently, there was supposed to be a much longer part between revealing that he's still alive. But I think it's pretty funny to say, hey, he's the main character. You show him dying in the beginning, and then you actually show him dying again, and then just like the bait and switch of like maybe give the viewer like 5-10 minutes, like no, Rico's dead, the main character just died, what are you gonna do now? And then you say, oh, by the way, he's in the healing tank, he's actually okay now. But I think that's brilliant, and everyone that I've done like a first time viewing with this movie has been like, Rico's dead, like they're all like just like totally like, well, you can't kill him. And same thing for Carmen when she like blows up in the ship, and, it looks like she's dead too, and everyone's like, oh my god, they just killed her.
It's funny you say that, and that was the same reaction my wife had when she was watching the movie over the weekend, because she's never seen Starship Troopers, and she saw it with me over the weekend. And that scene when she pulls up the casualties, and she pulls up Rico's name and shows like kill in action, she goes like, is he dead? Like, when did this happen? And I'm like, well, just keep watching. And then like 3 minutes later, he's in the healing tank. She's like, oh, okay. So it's funny you bring that up, because that's the reaction that Verhoeven probably wanted when he filmed that specific scene that way, because he wanted to give a moment of like desperation to the viewers, like, oh, you just killed your main character, what you gonna do now? I'm like, oh no, wait, he's in the healing tank, he's fine.
Yeah, I could use like another 2-3 minutes of like baiting the viewer into thinking he's dead, but just a small thing. But yeah, I like the idea of like fake killing your main character in a believable way like that, and especially when you show it twice.
Yeah,
open the movie that way, like.
Yeah. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
This was fun.
Is it gonna take us another 10K views for another video or on speed?
If I'll give you this on live TV, if you can get Saranac to come to the next movie, I'm okay.
Well, we can do this once a month. We can do this once a month.
If you can convince him somehow.
We just gotta let him pick the movies. Let him pick the
Give him
movies.
some free PTO time. It would
Okay.
work.
We'll just let him pick the movie, and we'll just watch it. That way, he can be more he can be into it.
Hey, nobody fought me. You're like, what movie should we do? And I was like, Starship.
I mean, he said
like,
Starship
okay.
2. We're like, we're down.
Yeah, like.
I mean, this is the perfect movie for today. Like, you cannot look around you and see what's happening in the world and not think that this is the fucking perfection to watch and understand what's happening. But that's not for us to decide.
Yeah. My final thoughts are, just timeless movie. Such an easy recommendation for just watching as a pure sci-fi schlock movie or enjoying it for its political message. My warning would be, as the only one of the three of us that have seen the two sequels, skip it. I know curiosity might get you. You might say, oh, well, I mean, it's more Starship Troopers, right? How bad can it be? They're pretty bad. They're pretty bad.
You took one for the team, Alex.
He did.
Yeah, there is zero redeeming qualities. You won't be like, oh, it was a good action scene. No, they're just, good God, they're awful. Don't watch them. Just enjoy the first movie and close the book and walk away and think about, killing bugs with Johnny Rico.
Would you? That should be our last question. Would you join?
Would you join the Federation?
Would you join the Federation?
The worst part is, after watching all that and seeing the horror and everything, yeah, probably.
In that society, I mean, I don't think you had a choice.
I mean, that's how it painted. You graduate from high school, you either go to the Fleet Academy or you sign
Harvard.
up. Harvard.
Harvard's.
So you either go to college And if you don't make it in college, you go to either Mobile Infantry, or if you're smart enough, you can land as a psychic or the Fleet Academy.
I think that he was only psychic, if I'm not mistaken. Was there any other psychics? I think
Neil Patrick Harris, among his friends, Neil Patrick Harris was the psychic.
Oh, because I thought like he was for some reason like unique. Like, oh, anyway.
No, he failed every
Remember,
test.
There's even a TV commercial saying, "Are you psychic?"
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
you know, go to a recruitment center and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I guess it's
It's like-
something. Yeah.
I guess,
no,
Yeah,
this
you have
is
to
a
watch
movie
it again.
that can be- this is a movie that can be endlessly talked about. There's so much to unpack.
Right.
I'm trying not to start a new train of thought right now, but like,
All right.
yeah,
It's on Hulu, people. If you want to see it, thank you for being with us. Thank you for letting us to do one more episode. Thank you for joining. Thank you for 12,000 bots, whoever the fuck paid.
And
for that.
counting. And listen, I'm gonna convince this guy to like not do like at least do this once a month, and we'll bring Alex along and we'll let him pick the movie again, and we'll do this again. Okay, I'm gonna promise this to the viewers. It's not gonna take another 10K views on
And
one
if we get
particular.
10K, nobody gonna complain. Like,
We're not going to complain, so just keep piling on. I don't know what Speed is doing that's trending so much in our channel. It's the only video that's
it's,
every week it increases like thousands of views. So like keep doing it. Like whoever's watching Speed and looking up us and Speed, or maybe you're confused and thinking that Keanu Reeves is in our video and you just
maybe
hit play.
somebody trying to buy Speed, you know?
I know, right? They think, oh, this is the movie, and they just
the algorithm. You
they
know,
see two
so-
guys just talking about the movie. Just keep doing it. Like we don't mind. But yeah, so thank you again for anybody that tuned in live with us. Thank you for those who are about to listen to us eventually. Again, thank you. We do this for fun. We don't expect anything out of this, and we highly appreciate all the feedback and support. Just want to give a quick shout out to my buddies back home in Puerto Rico. They have their new episode this tonight. So El Wolfpack, they're going to be talking about the latest news happening. I'm on them now, breaking news from Batman 2 sequel being greenlighted, Justin Lin quitting the Fast and Furious franchise, and updates on the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial. That's been hilarious watching all these TikTok videos on Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's trial. How the one of the funniest one I seen today was Amber Heard's lawyer objecting himself for a question he asked.
May I approach the bitch?
Excuse me? What did you say?
I said, may I approach the bench? What did you hear?
So again, thank you so much for tuning in. Check out Starship Trooper. Like we said, it's on Hulu. It's a fun movie if you've never seen it. If you're in for some dumb sci-fi action, you're going to enjoy it. If you watch it a second time, analyze it, because you'll get a kick out of it. All right. And without further ado, I guess we'll see you guys when we see you. Just keep an eye on our social media pages for our next movie. We'll be back. I promise you, we'll be back. But until then, hasta mañana.